Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Happiness Index podcast. My name is Matt Phelan, and I'm here with Suvo. How you doing, Suvo?
Hey Matt, good to see you. I'm good, thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Suvo. My team joke that I often speak to you more than I speak to them, which I don't know. I don't know what that means, but I'm really pleased that we can go from talking privately to actually getting some of our conversations out there. But Suvo, before we get into some of these questions today, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. So my name is Suvo. I'm the Global VP for Marketing Enablement and Performance at Pluxee, based in Paris. Been with the company for 10 years, and I've known Matt for, I think, about 3 years, but seems much longer.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I won't ask you that. Look, Steve, this question for today came from me and you having a little lunch in Paris, actually. I can't remember who said it. One of us said over lunch, can AI make people happy? And we said, we've got to do a podcast on that. We've been preparing for it, and we've got some questions and stuff that we went through today. And everyone, it's in every single business right now, isn't it? Everyone is talking about it. And I just want to set the scene for the listeners on what I'm seeing in the market at the moment, Suvo. I went back through my notes of every meeting that I've had over the last couple of months and looked for a trend. And this is what every business is telling me right now, which is fun. They are Their current core business is being squeezed from many different angles. Some of it's political, some of it is financial, some of it is to do with the economy. Now, what business I go into, wherever in the world, they say those three things are happening to my core business. And then they say, and I'm trying to build a new business for the future. And I'm stuck between looking after my core business and trying to move the business forward. And then they always go, and then there's a third. And then they say, and then AI is disrupting it all quicker and faster than there's ever been before. So those three things, every business I'm going into, Steve, are saying that. So we wanted to flip it around a bit today and actually ask something that me and you are passionate about, which is, can AI make people happier? And we're going to work through that. But before we ask, can AI make you happier, I want to know what makes you happy, Suvo?
That's an interesting question. What makes me happy? Again, happiness has two dimensions. So what makes me happy at work is knowing that I can do my best every day, and the fact that I could do as much as I could, and that makes me happy. And what makes me happy outside work is the realization that I can spend enough time and energy with the people that I care for, my friends and my family. I think these are the two things that make me happy.
Yeah. And how do you how do you notice if you feel like there's something stopping you doing your best work? How do you feel and how do you notice it and change it?
It's about the objectives that you set for yourself. It's more than nothing more than that. So you know that you need to do a certain amount of work, or you need to achieve something in a certain timeline. And then, of course, sometimes you don't achieve all of it, but then you know that you couldn't have done more on that aspect of work. And then that makes me happy, saying, okay, I could do that much and I'll continue to try doing my best. And beyond this, I can't do more.
I love that. I love that. But the fact you're conscious of it is important, isn't it? Because sometimes, I don't know, you must have it in your team. Sometimes you can see it in someone else, but they can't see it in themselves. Well, maybe it's a friend that spots it. I think sometimes it's simple changes, isn't it?
You're right. The consciousness is important because a lot of people chase perfection. And I think one way of being happy is the realization that perfection is overrated. Sometimes we have to live with a lot of imperfections, a lot of situations which are not ideal, yet you move on, you deliver on whatever can be delivered in incremental steps. So I think that realization is very important.
Yeah, totally. And so, Suvo, thanks for sharing that. We're just going to go into, I'm just going to quote a couple of things from some research pieces first off. So, McKinsey Global Institute are talking about how they think there could be significantly less jobs in the future than there are now. And then I just want to bring this out. A recent Pew Research Center study found that a majority of workers believe AI will lead to fewer jobs. And this is what I wanted to speak to you about, Suvo, which is, and I wanted to talk about it from an engagement and happiness perspective, because I see it in my friendship groups as well, where people say, oh, my company's asked me to trial this AI, but they're trialing it and they've been asked to make the company more efficient. But they're also worried that same thing that they're trialing and bringing in could replace them. So how do we manage that as leaders, Suvo? Just put you in the mind of the listeners. The people that are listening tend to be HR directors and CEOs that try to be research-driven leaders. that are using data. How do we attack that? Because people are worried, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Matt. So one of the most fascinating shifts we're seeing right now is how quickly AI is reshaping not just work itself, but how people feel about their work. And I think that's a very important nuance, because some of the changes are genuinely positive and often a bit surprising. So, for example, we do know and we have evidence that AI is actually making employees happier at work. Since we are on the subject of happiness, because what does AI often do? AI takes on a lot of repetitive, low value tasks. For example, summarizing documents, analyzing data, administrative workflows, and so on. And as a consequence, employees get back time. And that reclaimed time isn't just improving productivity, it's improving well being. For example, what HR leaders are telling us is that employees are finally able to use the benefits that their organizations offer. It could mental health benefits, learning and development programs, or even just enjoying a healthy, nutritious lunch with their colleagues. And employees at some point in time used to be too stretched to take advantage of these benefits. And AI is easing that everyday pressure and making people feel more relaxed. I think that's a very real driver of happiness.
Yeah. I've definitely reflected on certain days where I've tried to finish on time to be with my family, where I look back at what I needed to do on that day. And if I hadn't have had the support of I wouldn't have been able to finish on that time. So I think it's important to look back and reflect how you've used it in a day as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we are emphasizing now is that when AI is deployed thoughtfully, it's not just a productivity booster, but it's a quality of life booster, and it's very important.
Yeah, definitely. So, Suvo, where we're going to go now is, and I'll just reframe it for the listeners. In the happiness index model, which we work with Pluxee all around the world on, we actually differentiate engagement as what you think about work, and going back to what Suvo said, happiness is what you feel about work. But the way that Suvo and I have split this podcast is we're going to go through the think part of it, which is what we would traditionally call employee engagement. And we're going to go through the drivers of employee engagement in the first half. And then we're going to go through the drivers of employee happiness in the second half. So the first half, we're going to talk about what you need at work, what your brain needs to help you be engaged. And I'll just share with everyone that doesn't know our model what the top 4 drivers of engagement are first. And then Suva and I are going to go through each one. So clarity, meaning and purpose, opportunities to grow, and enablement to succeed are the top 4 drivers of engagement at work globally. Now, they do change in different from country to country, but they consistently come out as the top 4. The biggest surprise is, Suvo, often people are surprised to see meaning and purpose in there, because they often think meaning and purpose is more maybe of a feeling or linked to the heart. Whereas our neuroscientists always explain to us, meaning and purpose is something the brain needs. It is linked to direction. So we'll kick off. Actually, I'm going to add a question in, Suvo, that isn't in our pre-planned there. Of those 4 for you when you're at work, clarity, meaning and purpose, opportunities to grow, and enablement to succeed, what's the most important one for you? And then I'll share what the most important one for me is. Of those 4, what would you pick that you really need?
Meaning and purpose. Absolutely. I mean, purpose is the biggest driver which motivates and engages people. It drives people forward, and it's that invisible link between the organization and the employee.
Yeah. Our meaning and purpose is up there for me. And I think people might expect me to go for that one, as someone who runs the happiness index. However, as an individual, opportunities to grow is my one. I'm scanning constantly, and gets me into trouble quite a lot, because sometimes I have to actually just get on with my day job and not be looking at this new thing. But I'm going to go opportunities to grow quite quickly past, followed by meaning and purpose. But the first one we're gonna tackle here is clarity. I've definitely got people in my team that say clarity is number 1 for them, and I know as a leader it's the one I've had to work on the most. And I have to work really hard to make sure I offer my team clarity, because I can get excited and run off of all these things, and you need a plan, you need clarity. So how could AI help offer clarity in the world of work, Suvo?
So that's an interesting one. I think AI deals with clarity in a number of ways. For example, AI can create clarity around roles, goals, communication, and these are very big stress points in an organization. Right? It can clarify strategy. For example, it can translate big strategies into clear next steps, who owns what, and most importantly, ensures that everyone hears the right message at the right time. Because people process messages very differently. The same message can be processed very differently, and AI can help translate that message into the right way for each individual. And I think another one which AI has started doing is helping people understand how their work connects with the bigger picture. And once that happens, employees become confident, they become more creative. And I think in the context of happiness at work, I strongly believe that clarity creates calm, it creates confidence, it creates happier teams. And somewhere I think AI could be a very important driver for that.
We have one of the areas that always, it is going to sound like a product plug, but we, in our AI, in the happiness index, Quokka AI, one of the bits of feedback we kept hearing is how we kept seeing it, not in our, we did see it in our data actually, but also our customers' data, people saying, I'm being asked to do more with less. And one of the things that we've done in our AIs, in the platform, is a model called Stop, Start, Continue. Because there's a clarity piece where people just felt like they had too much to do. But actually, when you break and use a model like Stop, Start, Continue, it really helps. The one that I'm really interested in what you're going to answer to this one is actually the hardest one, I think, to answer here. But I don't know what you're going to say. How can AI help meaning and purpose? Because that meaning and purpose was really human, doesn't it? So how can something that's not human help us on meaning and purpose?
So that's not a tough one at all for me because we've been working with thousands of clients across the world, and what we see every day that whenever employees feel a strong sense of purpose, their engagement skyrockets, and that's the exciting thing with AI, right? You can actually strengthen that sense of purpose. So again, linking it to what I said earlier, for example, if AI can free people to focus on doing meaningful work, it's like you have like an admin who handles all the administrative part, and then the human beings and the employees, they spend more time on creativity, problem solving, and building human connections, right? And that's the part of work where purpose really comes alive.
Yeah.
And secondly, once that happens, it also lets employees use the benefits that support their well-being. Again, sometimes eating a healthy, nutritious lunch is a big driver to well-being. Employees feel cared for and supported by the sense of purpose. And if that happens, organizational purpose grows.
Yeah.
And I think just to kind of sum it up, what AI does is that it tailor makes things for employees. It could tailor make benefit plans to make them feel more valued. It can bring alive what the organizations are doing, and it can also translate the meaning and purpose of the organization to the employees so that they can resonate with it. So I think AI can be a purpose multiplier.
The one I'd add to that, which is actually coming to my head off the fly here, which is accessibility as well, because we spend a lot of time when we communicate internally, we think about the different types of brain types within the company. We know that we've got people that are visual learners. We know we've got people that like to sit down and read through things. We know people so we actually plan our comms that way. But I was just thinking on the fly, you could actually put your comms that you're about to communicate out and say, does this work for all the different types of learners, and what are we missing? And I hadn't really thought of it until you started thinking of it from that perspective, Suvo.
Absolutely.
So the next one, so meaning purpose was actually the one that's interesting. The one that is important, the most important to you, was the one that you felt easy answering. And this is funny because I thought this would be the easiest one to answer, which is opportunities to grow, which is we see in our global data one of the main reasons that people are leaving organizations. We see it in the happiness index as exit data, where people just feel, and like how I said in the intro, my brain, I do scan for learning opportunities, but it's not just more, that's what our brains do all the time. There's the bit that's looking for threats, the challenges, all that kind of stuff, but we are looking to grow. How can AI help us in that?
So in fact, AI is helping us solve a very important problem, which is a scalable learning and development program. Because for years, it's been a one size fits all with maybe minor tweaks, especially in mid to large companies. And AI is helping us break that model. For example, AI can run personalized or tailor-made learning and development programs, right? AI can, for example, map your skills in real time, compare them to what kind of roles you are likely to get into in the future, what kind of skills really matter for you, and how close or how distant you are. So today, HR leaders can not only create personalized learning programs at scale, which was earlier impossible, they can also measure if they're happy and engaged during that training. for example, by leveraging your platform or the Happiness Index. So AI is kind of becoming a career co-pilot, helping employees visualize what they can be, what can they grow with purpose, and of course, navigate a lot of uncertainty with confidence. And I think at the bottom of it, people, when they get trained in the right way, in the way they want, they would probably see a better future for themselves in the organization. Yeah, I guess, which could lead to get better engagement and happiness.
Yeah, career co-pilot. It's such a shame that that Microsoft nabbed that phrase because it is the best description, isn't it? Career co-pilot. And when you apply that to learning, I think that's, and we're going to come back to that. I think there's something else in that. So on to the fourth one, enablement to succeed, which is really, I mean, this has to be where it has the biggest impact. So when we talk about enablement to succeed, we're talking about, has your company given you the tools to do the job? And I just want to share something from our latest HR brunch. Our HR brunch 6 months ago, so HR people come along going, they were like frustrated that they're just sort of being given like AI tools, but they still had a lot of work to do and it was still stressful. I noticed at the last catch up, it sort of come through the other side a little bit where people are like, yeah, I'm using it for this, using it for that. The last time people were like, oh, everyone's talking about AI, but I was really using it. This time there's real practical examples of where HR are actually using it and it's making a difference. So enablement to succeed, how can AI be the tool to help us get the job done?
So I think that's one of the most immediate wins of AI, right? What AI is doing is it's removing the mundane tasks from our lives. It's automating them. There are so many repetitive tasks that we do, right? And it's almost becoming like a first line helper that removes the little blockers that interrupt our flow of work. I mean, stuff like minutes of meeting, reporting, base level of analytics and all. And what then happens is that you, for example, if AI summarizes the minutes of meeting for you, you look at what are the insights that happened in the meeting, what are the actionables, and so on. And it does another interesting thing in some organizations. It also improves resource allocation, right? Because workload is not evenly distributed. So things like capacity planning or putting the right resources for the right tasks. So at the end of the day, when people spend less time chasing tasks and more time doing meaningful work, thanks to AI, everything improves. Well-being, productivity, collaboration, and hopefully it makes people happier at work and beyond.
Our global workplace happiness report is now live, and we would love you to be part of it, to contribute your voice to one of the deepest and most comprehensive studies ever into workplace happiness. To do this, just go to thehappinessindex.com. At the top, you'll see a little tab that says Global Report. Click on there and then just go to step 1. That's the link to our survey, and that will allow you to contribute your voice to our data set and help us shape the future of work. If you're then feeling brave, you go to step 2, and for no charge whatsoever, you can benchmark your company against our global benchmark to see how your organisation's doing. Hopefully you do step 1 and 2, and thank you on behalf of the Happiness Index.
So we got through the first half here. So we've gone through what people need to be engaged at work and how AI can help. And I would summarize that, your point there, using AI as a co-pilot for learning and development in your career, but all of those things. And I didn't tell Suga this, but the first half was the easy bit. It's artificial intelligence. It's designed to help the brain, but we're going to go into the feel bit, the people that's, for me, the most advanced leaders get this, but some leaders still struggle to think that this is part of their role. But if you look back in history, the best CEOs, the best leaders, the best HR directors, they get this bit, the feel bit. And just to give everyone the top 4 drivers that we see globally before we take Suvo through them is relationships, safety. Safety does include psychological, but also it's the whole area of safety. I know working with Pluxee in Romania, I've been to some of the factories of your customers out there, like health and safety is still a massive part of that. Freedom and acknowledgement. So these are 4 massive areas. Just want to educate the listener that, like lots of other studies, relationships consistently comes out number 1 as the top driver. Often I go around the world and get people in an audience to put their hands up. it generally is 50% up to much higher. The highest I've seen it in a room is in Brazil with Pluxee Brazil. Almost everyone put their hand up as that was the number one thing. Steve, I'm going to ask you the same question. I'll just recap them. Top priorities of happiness, relationship, it's the freedom, acknowledgement. For you personally, what's the most important one?
So I think relationships, because this is an aspect of, and it's not just about what people feel, but it's also an aspect of AI that we don't talk about enough. The human side. I know it kind of sounds counterintuitive, because when you think about AI, you talk about algorithms and tools and so on. But at the end of the day, technology also helps us build stronger relationships, and that's something which a lot of people have started realizing. And therefore, when it's about how do you use tools to foster stronger relationships at work and beyond, because it's important to do it outside of work as well. And I mean, we can talk about it in greater detail, but there is a very strong emotional aspect of AI, or an emotional angle that AI solves for. And again, it'll definitely be worth talking about.
Yeah. And I'll go with me as well. Relationships is right up there for me, but freedom is huge for me. If I find that freedom declines, I know I can handle relationships going through different types of things for me. But if I don't know what I think maybe it's an entrepreneurial thing, but if freedom is at any point just restricted a little, I really struggle, and my happiness slides really quickly. It's quite scary. Like I have to feel that I have that. So I put that in. I'm going to kick off with the use that I used AI for in this area for recently. Actually, I coach children's football. I'll be doing it later this evening. Got two children that I coach that their parents have disclosed to me. One is autistic, one is ADHD. Now, I'm trained at work to varying degrees to understand that as a CEO myself, but I've not with children. So I've used AI to research how I should work with those children differently. And it to the point of it's given me 5 or 6 bullet points for each one. And I've got them here, which I've just found it so useful. So I'll just read it out. So when it comes to ADHD, and this is me going back and forward using an advanced AI to get a plan for me. So here we go. Coaching a child with autism, clear communication, structured environment. I won't go into all of the bullets. Coaching a child with ADHD, high energy engagement, focus and organization. But I'm actually adapting what would be called a lesson plan or a coaching plan based on that. But the thing I learned from it, Suvo, is the adaptations that I'm making based on what I've used AI for. There's no downside to the players that are not ADHD or autistic, because if you look at here's one of the bullet points on so coaching a child with autism, clear communication, use simple, concrete language and provide visual cues. There isn't anywhere in the world that is bad for, is it? So I just that's just the practical example that I'm quite passionate about that I just wanted to share with you, Suvo.
That's quite fascinating.
Yeah, it's just incredible. So I'm just going to go into now relationships. Like personally, that is helping me build relationships with children that I coach. But I guess some people would be cynical about this. Like, can AI really help improve relationships at work, Suvo?
I think AI has a huge potential to help us feel more connected at work, not by replacing human interaction, but making it sometimes easier for people to find each other, support each other. For example, AI can help build networks by spotting shared interests, complementary skills. Even at a workplace, sometimes you don't know, especially in large organizations, people who are like-minded, people who have the same interests, and how do you get together? So imagine the level of collaboration that would have been if you didn't leave them to chance encounters. Today's chance encounters which make people discover each other, right? Second is AI can also strengthen team connections. For example, summarizing conversations, sometimes highlighting when an alignment is slipping. So teams can stay on the same page and engage with each other rather than trying to figure out what somebody else is saying and so on. And I think there's a very important piece, which is the third one I wanted to speak about, which is I think AI can help people in organizations look after each other. AI can identify early signs of isolation, disengagement. It can nudge either managers or peers to check in before someone falls through the cracks. Right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like I mentioned the word Copilot before. In this case, it's the kind of a quiet support system in the background. The kind of what you guys at Happiness Index are also doing, leveraging AI. The barometer of happiness or the barometer of engagement. But again, at the end of the day, AI doesn't do that on its own. AI creates the conditions, the circumstances for connection. It guides people to be with each other. And at the end of the day, it's the real human warmth and curiosity, which then lead to the actions behind it, which still comes from us human beings. So it's kind of a bridge that supports happier and connected teams.
Yeah, and I think also there's people have strong views, isn't there, about whether people should work from home, whether they should work hybrid, whether they should work from the office, which we're not going to have that conversation today, even though that would be fascinating. For me, it's about you've got to fit the right culture to the organization, the goals and what you're achieving. So there is a case where you need everyone in the office. There's also a case where you can be virtual. But that's where I think, going back onto your point, that's how I see customers using the happiness index really well, where I think it creates empathy and understanding, because if you do a town hall in any company, whether it's virtual or whatever, some people are going to put their hands up and ask questions, and some are not. And some people are going to share how they feel, and some are not. But when you've got that broad stroke, and then you can use AI to analyze it like our customers do, that's where a CEO can actually use AI to activate real empathy. And I'm not talking about fake empathy, but a CEO can actually understand how the culture is impacting them and then talk to it. Because that's what makes people feel heard, isn't it? And that's where relationships come from.
Absolutely.
So relationships. So this is actually going on to what I now think is the hardest one, because safety, and we're talking broadly here, but psychological safety is a big part within safety. We touched at the beginning, Suvo, that AI is making some people feel unsafe about their jobs. And I want to share a piece of data that Tony, my co-founder, communicated at one of our latest events, which super interesting, scary, a whole merge of everything. We're finding, Suvo, we're seeing in our data globally, which we collect with Pluxee, is there is a whole group of people that we've not seen before that the phrase is job hugging. So they are staying in jobs that make them unhappy and don't feel safe in some examples, because they're worried that there's not another job out there, which is a real challenge for everyone, isn't it? Because it's not great for the person who stays in that role because they're unhappy and not performing, but it's also not great for the company because you don't want a big group of people that don't want to be there, because we know that's not great either. So this one, I think, is your hardest challenge today, Suvo. How can AI make us feel safer when so many people are scared of it?
I think there are several ways in which AI can do this. For example, AI can bring more objectivity into feedback and performance conversations. So again, the way feedback is given is very important, especially during those half-yearly or annual appraisals, performance management sessions, right? And a lot of times, as managers, people rely on memory to give feedback, or subjective instances, right? Versus AI, who can really summarize performance, and as long as there's the right data set behind it, so that it doesn't depend on that moment or those outliers basis which you give feedback to someone, right?
Absolutely.
And there are many other ways. For example, AI can monitor communication for different kind of biases. It could be gender bias. It could be any bias. Because again, it's assumed that every manager is a great communicator, which is not necessarily true. And it might not be because the manager is biased, but it's sometimes cultural, because a lot of us work in multicultural environments. So you don't realize the cultural nuance behind a word or a statement which might be taken wrongly, and where AI can help correct that, right? It can help prevent that. And again, I think I think at the end of the day, AI is there to support human judgment. The judgment is still humans, but it can support human judgment. It can create an environment where you are less likely to make mistakes, which you don't want to.
Yeah.
And AI can be data driven and help you understand that.
I just want to pick up out of stories for that, actually, from some work that we did together with actually the CEO, the country manager of Pluxee in Romania. And we've shared this story, Gabor and I have shared this story, this is fascinating about how it can help as well. Because when we launched the Happiness Index report on Romania, I said to him, he did a speech, and I said, great speech. He said he hates positive feedback where it's not specific. So he said to me, if someone says to me, well done, I need to know specifically what I've done. So someone actually saying great speech to him, it actually makes him unhappy. We actually talked about this on stage. We have a good enough relationship to sell it. And he would say, so what was great about my speech so that I can learn? Like, not because he's arrogant or wants to get like extra kudos, but again, I'm just picking up on your point, Suvo, that you can actually record instances of someone that you're working with and then use AI to analyze that when it comes to review time. If you, Gabor is in a different company to me, so he doesn't report into me, but if you were leading Gabor and you needed to give him feedback, you need to know it needs to be evidence in what he needs to improve, but also evidence in what he's done well. He needs that, whereas some people don't. But I found that a super interesting thing, and I was just building on your point, really. Suvo, the one that I said was about support for me, freedom. I can't imagine AI helping with freedom. How's it going to help with freedom?
AI helping with freedom. It again starts with what is freedom? Freedom is the ability to do what really matters to you. Like we say in our brand promise at Pluxee, what enables you to do what really matters to you? It's creating an environment where creativity thrives. It's creating an environment where you really leave the mundane tasks to technology and spend your time at work or beyond, working with people who matter to you at your workspace or beyond. It's having the headspace for creative brainstorming, problem solving, creativity. So I think the dimensions of freedom are manifold, and what AI does is that it does things for you which you think bind you down. Like I said before, there are speed breakers, there are resistances, things that slow you down. AI liberates you from that, and then you feel the sense of freedom about it.
Yeah, I love that framing, and I suppose even in my own life, like that ability to save me time gives me more freedom to do other stuff, like the coaching and things like that. Acknowledgement, Suvo. I just want to give the listeners, as we go into the last 15 minutes, the sort of data on this that we see. Of all the top 8, acknowledgement in our data set has the highest standard deviation. What that means is, if you take relationships as an example, even though you might be introverted or extroverted, what we seek, our core from relationships, is quite similar, that connection. However, when it comes to acknowledgement, what we seek from acknowledgement varies. So what Suvo might want to be acknowledged with is very different to what I might want to be acknowledged with. But if you put it across a whole workforce, this is the area where you can get it wrong if you standardize it. How can AI help with acknowledgement, Suvo? One of the most human things that we all need. How can it help?
Again, I think acknowledgement, recognition, right? And it goes from that basic human need of everyone wanting to feel special, appreciated, and valued, right? So one thing AI could do is it can flag the moments managers often miss. It could be a small milestone within a big project, and a lot of managers have so many things to do. Maybe it needs an automated nudge from AI saying, "Hey, that was great. Don't let it go unnoticed. Recognize that person, man or woman," right? And also, I think if I take it a step further, AI also helps you recognize, in the sense you might not have time to write that long recognition note or a nice recognition note, but over a period of time, AI recognizes your style of writing. So say, "Hey, great job launching THI in Chile," but it can write in Matt Phelan's style.
Yes,
Just remind you that he went to Chile and with Pluxee launched Happiness Index there, right? And I think the third point is that what AI could do is also kind of help amplify recognition. So it's one thing for managers to recognize people, and then AI can amplify that. It can also alert others that somebody has been recognized in very, very different ways, in very, very individual ways. So I think it has a very, very big role to play. But we are still a little far in leveraging this aspect of AI at the moment.
definitely. But so much to come. And I think I'm just going to try and summarize everything you've said in 30 seconds. And then you're going to tell me whether I've missed anything out of your summaries. I think the summary of the engagement piece is that it's that co-pilot for the brain that helps us do our jobs really well. The summary from the happiness bit is it's not replacing all those human bits, but it's helping us focus on the things, the moments that matter, the times when you should be recognizing someone. That's how I've summarized everything you've said. So, anything that you'd like to add to my summary?
Oh, I think you've done as well as AI could.
I can confirm that was a non-AI summary from a human being. I keep thinking on the front of my book, I should say no. Like on food, it says like no chemicals in here. I feel like I should put no AI. So I guess all books in the future are going to have some AI influence in. So just going into summary, Suvo, CEO's advice. I think what I'm finding funny at the moment, not funny, is there was a lot, maybe 2 to 3 years ago, there was a lot of articles out there, Nostradamus-y type things. AI is going to kill the world. All jobs are going to be gone. And there are changes happening, but already some of those articles are starting to look out of date and a bit like the Nostradamus, remember at school, and you think, oh my God, the world's going to end next year. Doesn't seem to have been happening as quickly as that. Maybe people listen back to this podcast and laugh at me. However, it seems to be more of an evolution of work than the end of work. CEOs, Suvo, what's your one bit of advice on how AI can really work all these things that CEOs are thinking about: productivity, efficiency, happiness, engagement? What's your one bit of advice for the CEOs listening, Suvo?
I would say please use AI to make people feel more human, not less. Because you see, productivity will come, but productivity is an outcome. Productivity happens when the workplace is a happy environment, when people feel light, people feel energized, people feel more supported by the organizations, and very importantly, connected to the purpose. So let AI take away the noise, right? Which is administrative tasks, repetitive tasks. And if you can give your employees time back to think, create, collaborate, and use your benefits like well-being, lifestyle, let them live fuller lives. And you see, we've had this conversation in a couple of forums, and the common thread is always that the CEOs who will win the next decade are the ones who will not see AI as a cost-cutting tool, but as a capacity-creating tool, right? One that elevates the uniquely human strengths of their workforce rather than saying, okay, what can AI replace? It's not about replace, right? It's about making people valued, cared for, so they don't just do better work. They are happier, and they build a culture which AI cannot copy and another competitor cannot copy.
I cannot add anything better to that, Suvo. I'm gonna leave that there, and I'm gonna tell everyone about something that we're working on together. And then I'm going to re-summarize what you just said again, though, because that's so powerful and so positive, because all you tend to read is the negative stuff. But I also think that's also to do with the algorithms. They don't like to hear positive stuff. And so for those that don't know, the Happiness Index in Pluxee on the 26th of March, we're launching our global study into everything the Suvo and I have discussed today. All of these factors from all around the world. We're analyzing the data at the moment. And there's 2 ways that you can get involved still. One, you go to the Happiness Index website and go to the survey bit. You can actually put your own data in there. So we'd love to hear from you. Please go and fill out the survey yourself. But secondly, you can benchmark your organization for free against that global data. Both will add anonymously to the data set that gets analyzed. The event's on the 26th of March. Alongside Pluxee, we've got Google sponsoring it, who have given us their HQ. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? So it's going to be 250 people there. I think there's some tickets left. Do you know what? Actually, I'm going to give away 2 tickets, Suvo, to anyone that sends Suvo and I a really interesting question where we both go, oh, that's an interesting question. So send Suvo or I on LinkedIn a question, and we're going to pick a couple of those out, and we're going to give you a free ticket. Tickets are about £2,500, which people think is super expensive, but we're actually, what we're doing is we're valuing the knowledge. Those that can't afford to be there, because that is super expensive, we will be streaming it live. So if you want to be involved, go to thehappinessindex.com and complete the survey. But I'm just going to go into summary now and sum up. Firstly, thank you, Steve.
Pleasure.
We have these conversations all the time, and it's so good to get it out there and get other people thinking about it. And I think for me, it's that positive bit that I wanted to hear today, and we certainly did. I think first, it's been brilliant to have you here, Suvo. You've added loads of insight, but it's that the bit that I'm going to be left with is thinking about the CEOs that win are going to be the ones, not how to cut cost or to get rid of people. It's going to be how they allow people to be brilliantly human. And that's what you got me excited about today. So thank you for coming on. Any, do you know what? I'm going to add an extra question in, Suvo. If you went back in the time machine and met 16-year-old Suvo, what one bit of advice would you give 16-year-old Suvo?
I would just ask the 16-year-old Suvo to spend time on things that really matter. There's so much noise, so much distraction, and I wish I would have spent more time on things now when I look back mattered more to me. And that consciousness, which has come with age, I wish I told myself at 16. And I think, just linking it back to today's conversation, somewhere AI is helping cut the noise out for individuals, for organizations, and I think it is making people happier at work and beyond.
On that note, I'm going to say thank you on behalf of myself and our listeners. Thanks, Suvo.
You're most welcome, Matt. Have a great day.